In this tutorial, we're going to cover the pen tool, which is one of the most important tools in Photoshop and Illustrator. To get to the pen tool, we just click on the letter P, obviously, on our keyboard, and it takes us to the pen tool. Now, the pen tool is a bit tricky to use, but hopefully this tutorial will help us, get a feel of it, and then with practice, we will become much better at using it. So let's start by making a simple path. I'm going to click once and then release. You will see this dot, and then click elsewhere, release, click elsewhere, release, click elsewhere. And then finally, when I reach my very initial beginning, you will see that the pen tool is accompanied by a small empty circle, which is similar to the concept of, if you remember, the polygonal lasso tool, where your selection is about to close. So if I now go ahead and click on that, my path is drawn completely. And the difference here, the difference between the pen tool and the polygonal lasso tool is that I don't see a selection. I don't see that blinking effect of a selection, right? The way I do here with the rectangular marquee. Okay, what I see here is a path. This is a path, and without noticing, a path was drawn for us in the paths panel. The paths panel is obviously under window, so are all the other panels. So if you don't find it, or if you don't have it on the right side of your interface, you can go under window and just click on paths and it will show up. And my path is actually drawn within the paths panel. Now, if I need to change this into a selection, because having a path on this document is not helping me much, right? It's not doing anything. Maybe I need to apply a certain color within this odd, shall we say, shape. We need to make a selection. So let's go ahead and hover over this square where we have the path, right here over the square, and then hold down the command key and then click. When we do that, that path changes into a selection, and now we can go ahead and create a new layer and then apply a color. Okay, so it's a great start because we covered how the pen tool works in its simplest forms, and then we were able to find the path that we drew within the paths panel. We also were able to change the path into a selection by hovering over the square, holding down the command key and clicking once. Okay, now to deselect this, I will hold down the command key and the D key. If you remember, command D stands for deselect. And then I will throw layer 1 because I honestly don't need it now. I can also delete my path right here. So I can just hold down this path and then drag it down to the trash as I'm doing right now. Moving on to some more complicated or sophisticated is a better word, use of the pen tool. Let's click on the pen tool to select it, or just click the letter P on your keyboard, the letter P. And now let's make something, a more complicated or sophisticated drawing. So this time I'm going to try to draw a tree. I will start by this bottom to draw the trunk. So I clicked once and released, and then I'll click here and release, and now I want to make a curve. Okay, so I want to go to this left side and then click and drag without releasing. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is create another curved shape right here. Let me try doing that and I'll show you what happens. This is not the effect that I want, okay? Because what happened is that the shape right here continued and created this little wave for me, and that's not what I want. I want an angle at this point and a new arch to start. So how do I do that? That's the question. I need to get rid of this tangent handle. This little dot here is a vector point, and these two are tangent handles. To create a new arch and make an angle between the first arch and the second one, I need to delete this tangent handle. To do that, I can hover over the vector point and then hold down the Alt key or the Option key and then click. Okay, so that allows me to get rid of that additional tangent handle. So now when I hover over this area, click once and drag, I'm able to create an arch and also an angle between both arches. So same thing, I'll hover over this vector point, hold down the Alt key and click. I'm doing the same thing. Oops. Same thing. Okay, and then I reach the beginning of my work and then the circle appears. I'll click and then my shape is complete. And again, I can make a selection with it and give it a color. So I will hover over the path in the paths panel, hold down the command key and click once. You have to click where it says, not where it says work path, but where you see the little, you know, your little path you're drawing on that gray box. So hold down the command key and click once, and that's your selection. Now, what if you don't like this drawing or there's something you need to change? How do you do that? You can do that with the direct selection tool. So let me go ahead and click on the direct selection tool and then maybe come to this vector point and click there. When I do that, it starts showing me my entire drawing and the tangent handles one after the other. So wherever I click, it's going to show me the next tangent handle if one exists. So let's say I want to change the direction of this arch. I can use this tangent handle maybe to make it a bit longer. Maybe use this one and drag it out. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you have control over your existing drawing by using the direct selection tool. You can also take one of these vector points and completely change your drawing and then use the tangent handles and make changes. What if we want to delete one of those vector points? We can go to the pen tool and hold down the pen tool and select the delete anchor point tool. So let's say I don't want this point anymore. I just hover over it and we see a minus sign next to the pen tool. So we can click on that and that point is deleted. And if I want to add a point, again I click and hold the pen tool and it takes me to the add anchor point tool. And then I can click and it adds an anchor point. The right word is anchor point. I've been saying vector point. The term vector is used in Illustrator and the term anchor is used in Photoshop. So the proper term is anchor point. Again, these are anchor points and these are tangent handles. So I just added an anchor point and maybe I'll add another anchor point here. And what if now I want to, since I've added this anchor point, what if I want to play with its tangent handles? Again, I can go back to the direct selection tool, click on my anchor point, and then the tangent handles appear. And I can, manipulate the shape and create another arch and so forth. Now look at what happened here. Again, I have this wavy effect starting from the top and then there's this wavy shape. What if I want to make this curve that's going downwards? What if I want to make it go up? If I use this tangent handle, my other arch is going to be affected. So what do I do? That's the question. I can hold down the Alt key and then drag that tangent handle. That's what I did. So let me show you one more time. I hover over this tangent handle, the edge of the handle, not the anchor point, the edge of the handle, hold down the Alt key, drag it up, and that will allow me to change that curve going downwards to make it, you know, an arch towards basically upwards. So I know it's tricky, but the best way to you know, master this pen tool is to practice. What I would do is when you finish this tutorial, find a portrait or any image that you want and trace that image. So let's say you find a portrait of, you know, your favorite actress. Go ahead and trace over the eyebrows, the lips, the nose, and so forth. Let each of those traces be a separate path within your path panel, and then, for example, you can select the eyebrow from here and give it a color. Actually, we can do that exercise right now. So if I go back to the pen tool, let me start a new path right here. I'm not tracing because I don't have an image, but I can do one from memory. So I'll click once and then drag. Okay, so this is an eyebrow, let's say, and then I can hover over my work path and select. What happened with me is that I drew the eyebrow on the same path as the tree, which is okay because this is an exercise. To create new layers for your work path, you can go ahead and click on new path, and then that will allow you to put your eyebrow or lips on a separate path layer. Okay, so if I wish to deselect this tree because I'm not working with it right now, what I can do is go to the rectangular marquee tool and then hold down the option key. Holding down the option key will give me a minus sign next to the rectangular marquee tool, which means it's ready to, you know, make a, the right word is to deselect for me, if you will. And then holding down the shift key means that it's ready to add selections into my existing selection. So what I want to do now is get rid of the tree selection. So I will hold down the Alt key and then click and drag, and I will be left with only the eyebrow. And then go ahead and create a new layer, choose a brown color, for example, and then go ahead and color that and deselect, and that's your eyebrow. So in the coming tutorials, we will obviously have a lot of chance to work with the pen tool. We will even make a pop art poster using the pen tool. We will draw every single feature of the face. Actually, we will use the pen tool in all coming assignments, and hopefully we'll become masters at this tool.